Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Mindy Eggen. Today's video I am sharing inspiration featuring the new March 2022 My Monthly Hero Kit from Hero Arts, which I had an absolute blast playing with. I'll be creating all of these cards that you are seeing right now. Some of them are very clean and simple. Some of them will be using the window die that's included in the kit. And there are others where I'm bringing in previously released stamp sets to create scenes. So lots of fun to be had, and I really hope you enjoy it. Now let's take a quick look at the kit. So the kit this month has a 4x6 stamp set, which has those paint splatters on there, which is what I fell in love with. You have a window die, so it looks like people are looking at a piece of artwork at a museum. You have an embossing and watermark ink cube, and there are 4 colored embossing powders plus canvas paper. So it's textured paper that looks like canvas. A closer look at that stamp set, you can see mine is very well loved. I had lots of fun with it. Plus there's 4 sentiments on here. This is that fancy window die that I will be using and that textured canvas paper. Now I won't be using that today, but it is a lot of fun to create with. I am starting out with a very simple card. Now it's not going to really look simple, but technically it is. I'm just stamping. This is the largest splatter on that stamp set that I lined up on white cardstock, and I'm going to be stamping this image multiple times in the neon inks from Hero. Did you know they have neon inks? I've had these on my shelf for quite a while and I've never used them, and wow, why have I not been using these inks? They're so bright and vibrant. So the first time I stamped my image, I did it in the neon pink. Then I came in with neon blue. I inked it up about halfway, didn't clean my stamp, just dabbed off a little bit with a paper towel and stamped it down. And I have this gorgeous mix of pink and purple. You really have to try these. They're amazing. So I cleaned off my stamp, lined it back up, kind of changed direction a little bit. And this time I'm stamping in the yellow ink, or no, this one's the the orange. Sorry about that. This one's the orange. Then I'm coming in, I moved the stamp again, stamped it in yellow, and then I'm bringing in that blue again and adding a little bit to one side, dabbed off some ink, so I have this kind of mix of the green and yellow. Now, I really did love the blues, so I'm going to stamp it another time in just the blue neon ink and once more in the corner with the pink. So we have this whole array of rainbow colors on here. I'm just in love. Like, I could just take this and hang it on my wall. I fell in love with it. But to continue with card making, I picked a sentiment off of the kit, off of the stamp set in the kit, and I'm just stamping this in the intensified black ink, stamping it twice to make sure it stands out really well from the background. Once my sentiment's on there, it's done. I'm going to add it to a card base later on, but that was really quick and simple. So I still have my Misty out and the neon inks, and I'm using this largest paint splatter from the stamp set, and I'm stamping it in yellow neon. So this is card number 2. Then I'm going to bring in some of the pink and add it to one side, dab off a little bit of that ink to just kind of help smooth out the transition so I'm not getting a line from my ink pad. And then on the other end, I'm bringing in the blue so I can get this gorgeous array of color going all the way across. This time for a sentiment, I'm going to use the Creative Quotes stamp set. So it has some silhouette images, some artsy images, and just some really fun sentiments on it. And I'm just stamping this right in the middle of my splatter there with the intensified black ink. And I'm calling this one good. I love the colors. I love that splatter, but it did give me an idea. Now I have another piece of cardstock. This is card number 3. We're whizzing right on through, people. So I stamped it in the neon pink, and then I came in with some of that blue and I moved it around the splatter. So I have that mix of pink and purple all over. Now this one, I decided I wanted to add one of those silhouette images. So I brought in the fancy die to make sure that I'm going to be able to fit a sentiment and that image in there. And then I can stamp that down in that intensified black ink, stamping it a couple times to make sure I'm just getting a really clear, solid impression. Then off screen, I am going to die cut out my fancy window, and I'm using a piece of white cardstock that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, just lining my window over that panel, and I'm going to hold it together with a low tack tape. Then I decided I wanted to add some color. So there's two people here that are sitting there kind of gazing at this piece of artwork that's on the wall. And I'm using my Copic markers to color these in, but you could use watercolors or maybe if you have zigs, whatever you feel comfortable with. I gave them both white shirts and just some blue jeans so that I have so much color going on my canvas that they're going to be looking at. I thought keeping their shirts white would be easier, and I just used some light gray markers to do that. It finally kind of dawned on me why I really like seeing these images colored up when they're on die cuts like this. And it's because it kind of gives the illusion of no line coloring because it's not a stamped image, obviously. So there are no black lines. So by coloring it with whatever coloring medium you prefer, it's giving almost this no line appearance, which just really makes it look very artistic looking and pretty realistic. After I finished adding detail to the floor by using just a light gray marker, I'm going to flip this over and just put a bunch of tape runner behind this to make sure everything has tape on it, the heads, the people kind of sticking up, and then lining this up over my image. So now the way I'm lining it, I wanted to make sure the sentiment was in there and most of that image. So there is a little bit hanging off, and I just used my paper trimmer to trim that down. So moving along to my next card. Now, this one, okay guys, this one, I really was not happy with the end result, but I'm leaving it in because I think the concept is really awesome and it's something I wanted to try. So I'm going to leave it in the video for you. Give it a try with some different colors. I started out by stamping down this big splatter with the neon yellow ink, and then I added the pink. Okay, and then I dabbed off that little bit. Now I think that's where my mistake was. I should have either just left it yellow or maybe just used pink. I think that orange is what's throwing me off. Then I'm just going to prep the cardstock with an anti-static powder tool. I left everything in place. I did not remove my stamp. I inked it up with the clear embossing ink, stamped that right over the image, and then I'm going to sprinkle on clear embossing powder. And what this is going to do is trap my colors on the cardstock. So I can ink blend, spray, do whatever I want, and the embossing powder is going to resist anything that I do. Now, what I was trying to do was turn this into a galaxy. I'm obsessed with galaxies. I read about them every night on my phone, on Google. So I was really trying to turn this into a galaxy, and I think it would have worked if I would not have had these colors. I started by ink blending the Reactive ink Berry Smoothie. I'm bringing in Indigo. I'm going to go all the way around to create kind of that night sky. And then I'm going to bring in my ultimate favorite, which is the navy. I just got a new ink pad in the navy, so it is super dark and I love it. I'm using a Post-it note to protect my fingers so I don't get ink everywhere. And I'm just going around the outer edge. Then I'm taking a paper towel to kind of buff off that extra ink. Then a galaxy isn't complete unless you have stars. So I have this Distress spray in Picket Fence. So it's a white. I put some down onto my surface and I'm picking some up with a toothbrush. And then I'm just dragging this across the edge of my block to give a very, very fine splatter to the background. And this really works. If I can remember to do this more often, this really gave the effect of galaxy. And you probably think it looks okay, but it was not what I had envisioned, which is why I was struggling with this card. I should have left it maybe the yellow or maybe done the purple. Just a different color choice, I think, would have been the way to go for this. Now, I am going to set this off on the side to dry for a while. And then I came back to it and I decided to deepen up the edge. So I'm bringing in intensified black ink and I'm blending that around the edges. I was really going for this dark galaxy sky and I loved all the ink blending. I loved the colors used. I'm going to add a little bit more white to this using the Glimmer white metallic glimmer ink from Hero Arts, flicking this onto the background. So lots of splatter, lots of stars, which I love. I put this off on the side to dry again, let it completely dry, and then I'll be adding a sentiment from the Creative Quotes stamp set. Now let me know what you think. Are you totally okay with this? Does this look like a galaxy to you, or was I just going crazy? It wasn't my favorite, but I wanted to leave it in here, so it's still a possibility. You just need to change up some colors if that wasn't a galaxy to you. This next card I'm creating does not have to do with the My Monthly Hero Kit, but it is part of their March release in the add-ons. And I just had this idea. I loved it. I wanted to do it. I'm ink blending my entire panel with the Reactive inks in a rainbow. So I started with Taffy in the corner, came in with Creamsicle, adding some of the Lemon Drop, Then I'll do Key Lime Fizz, a really nice bright yellow. And then I'll have some Blue Hawaii down in the corner. And I'll finish it off with Grape Slush. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect blending because we're actually going to be covering some of this. I'll do my best to blend, but like the edge there, I got a little heavy-handed with the purple. I'm not going to worry about it. I brought out my Make Art Station, placed my ink blended panel down, and I'm placing the Abstract Frames stencil over the top, and I'm holding that in place with my magnets. Then I'm going to go over this entire thing with the Hero Paste glitter. This is absolutely gorgeous. If you don't see it in stock right now, be sure to hit the notify me button because you want this glitter paste. It is amazing. So I spread it all the way down my panel and I'm just kind of evening that out. You don't want a super thick layer. The more you apply, the longer it's going to take to dry. And then I'm just going to carefully peel this up and I'm going to wash this off in my sink right away with some warm water and soap. And I'm going to set the panel off on the side to dry. Drying time may vary just depending on where you live and your climate. Mine was maybe 25-30 minutes. I was doing lots of things in between, so I wasn't really timing it. Now to finish it off, I'm using this abstract frame. I die cut 2 of them from white cardstock and 1 from matte gold cardstock, just layering them together with a tape runner, or you can use liquid glue. I wanted to add a little bit of dimension. Now I am attaching it to my textured background with liquid glue because I really need this to stick down, and that texture can kind of be finicky sometimes. So once I place it down off kilter, I'm going to place a couple heavy acrylic blocks on top and let that sit. And then I'm going to finish it off with another sentiment off of that Creative Quotes. I use this set a lot. There's also great sentiments in the My Monthly Hero Kit. They were just longer than what I wanted to fit inside some of my areas. There's also a new Heroscape this month. This is the Impressionist Water Lilies stamp set. I'm stamping my layers in Tide Pool, then the lilies in Mint Julep. My next layer is going to be Passion Flower. And then I'll finish it off with the added detail to the lily pads with emerald ink. If you have any of the Heroscapes, they will look amazing with the fancy dye that is included in this kit. And I have another card example I'll be showing over on my blog and also here of using I think it's the beach one. I'll have everything linked down below in the video description, but the Heroscapes are great for this. I have one of my fancy window dies here cut from the white cardstock, and I'm just lining the back of it with foam tape to kind of pop it up a little bit, and then I'm going to add it to the front of the card. So this one I just left plain white. I didn't do any coloring to it. I thought it looked really nice and clean this way. The other way works great as well, but it was just kind of a change up. And then added a sentiment here to the front, and I just stamped it on white cardstock with black ink and added it to the bottom with some foam squares. And I believe this sentiment comes out of the kit. I'm also going to show you this card that I created where I have a ink blended sky and I used that beach scene I thought was really pretty, where these people are looking at a beach scene picture in a museum. I had one more extra panel of kind of that splatter background that I created that I needed to use up. So I die cut the fancy window from black cardstock and I'm adding highlights to the images with a fine tip Jelly Roll pen. I'm honestly not sure if I added the highlights to the right spots, but I thought it looked pretty cool. Okay, so there are a bunch of ideas for you using the March 2022 My Monthly Hero Kit from Hero Arts. They are in limited supplies, so if you are not a subscriber to the kits, you want to run over, grab it before it sells out, because once they're gone, they're gone. It is best to become a subscriber so you never miss out on any of their amazing kits. All of the supplies used today will be listed down below in the video description and over on my blog as well. Thanks for stopping by, and see you soon.